Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is, and welcome back. I hope your week has been just outstanding. We've got some good news today. Trump's poll numbers surging, and CNN is reporting this, saying that Trump is crushing it right now, and his base is actually supporting him even harder than ever. So we'll talk about it. Now, simultaneous to that, we've also got the Democrats struggling. So I got a bunch of clips queued up here for us today. We've got CNN going after this dude. Then we've got the media asking a lot about this Epstein stuff, right? The Democrats are trying to latch onto this and turn this into something that it isn't, and saying Trump should do this and all these things, and there's a big problem around this. And the Democrats, as you can see, are getting scolded by the media, in fact. So we got Jay Appel, who is on here. Even Joe Scarborough was lacing in to Raskin on this, saying, hey, Jamie, where the heck you been? You had a problem with this. You should have brought it up years ago when you guys were in charge, and you never did. So now we think it's all just Democrat bloviating as per usual. But we had a little battle in the Senate today. We had Ruben Gallego, this dork from Arizona. He was out on the Senate floor, and then Mark Wayne Mullen got up and objected to him and then dunked on him right there on the Senate floor. And so we'll watch what happened to Gallego. We got that. Then we got Mark Wayne Mullen. We got more coming here. We got some clips. We got Nancy Pelosi. Something strange is going on with Nancy. She's also calling this a distraction. A lot of the other Democrats are jumping all over it, but she's like, well, it's a distraction. I don't want to talk about it. All right. Nancy, interesting. Mike Johnson got asked about it. And the big story, of course, is Karoline Leavitt. She was out today. She got asked a slew of questions on this, including questions about a special prosecutor and whether somebody will be appointed to take this case any further, which is not going to happen. So we'll go through that. We also saw the president had a little bit of a health concern, and Caroline explained what's going on, said he's got some swelling in the hands and ankles. He's good. Don't worry about it. But we were wondering this very thing. We were asking earlier, and I don't remember if it was on a public, on a main show or a members only show, but we were wondering if Trump was sick or something. Like, why was he so upset? Why was he acting a little bit differently than he is used to acting? And we thought, well, maybe he's got a cold or something. Sometimes I get cranky and ornery. So maybe that's all it is. So we'll talk about it. We've got Caroline coming up, and then I got this great clip from Clay Higgins, man, because the Democrats are now pontificating about, children and caring about the kids and all that stuff in the context of Epstein. And we're wondering what they did for the last 4 years when they invaded our country with illegals who happened to bring with them 300,000 children who are now missing. So we'll talk about all that coming up. Then we'll turn our attention to some immigration stuff because this case is wild. This was a story back from June 30th, 2025. And Fox was reporting a mom of 3 got abducted at gunpoint by bounty hunters. And it was ICE, right? Essentially is what it was. Mother of 3 detained by ICE, right? How are they going up and rounding up moms at gunpoint in LA? Well, it turns out she's a liar, all right, allegedly. Here's the story also saying she's been charged in a federal criminal complaint, which has not been published yet, staging fake immigration kidnapping. They had a whole press conference about this. Look at all these people. They're like, help find my mother. They're like, she's at the casino. What are you talking about? Chill out. It's probably going to Costco, loading up her carts on her SNAP benefits. So we got more information on who this person is. Here is a photograph. Her name is Juliana Peleas Calderon, an illegal alien who then faked her own ICE kidnapping, and the media went hog wild over it. So how many more of them are there? Well, we'll talk about it. We got the story, bunch of reactions. We've got more immigration updates. John Kennedy's coming up. And this is great too. Wait till we get to this one, because they're now playing Trump's voice outside of ICE facilities, and these ICE agitators, these people, they start flipping out. Is that Trump on the speaker? Yeah, it is. They can't take it. They start to melt like it's like kryptonite or something. So we'll talk about that. Then we're going to find out that Hunter Biden is now talking to the media again. No, I'm being serious. He is. He's talking to him all the time. He says it's ridiculous. And he is now saying essentially that Jake Tapper is a liar. Saying, you think Jake Tapper's telling the truth? No, but neither are you, Hunty. So you two were besties for a while on the same side, and now you're having a little bit of a fracture. So we'll talk about that. We also got this post from the Oversight Committee. Jill's work husband, Ed Bernal, was in the Congress House Oversight Committee. He was supposed to testify, and then he sat down here and just crossed his arms like this and said, "And the Fifth Amendment." It looks exactly like somebody Jill Biden would be into. All right, so we got that. We got Byron Donalds coming up, James Comer, we got Ron Johnson, and then we're going to listen to this dude who got PTSD because he's a Democrat and his brain's totally broken. So a lot of great stuff coming up. It's a beautiful day, my friends. Very glad and grateful that you are here and with us. Now, before we dive into the meat and potatoes of the day, we got to talk about barbecuing. And barbecuing is delicious, but the hardest part of cooking meat, whether it's steaks, chicken, or fish, is the guesswork. You're tethered to a hot stove or a grill, sweating, constantly checking, singeing your eyebrows, and when it's time to serve, half the plate is overcooked and the other half is still mooing. Sometimes that happens, but those days are officially over. The Chef IQ Sense is a game-changing wireless cooking sensor that takes all the stress and uncertainty out of the kitchen. And it's not just a meat thermometer, it's an intelligent cooking assistant too. Here's how it works. Just insert the Chef IQ Sense right into whatever you're cooking, open the app, select the type of meat and your preferred doneness, rare, medium, well done, anything in between. And from there, Chef IQ Sense continuously monitors your food and predicts exactly when it's going to be done. No more hovering, flipping, second guessing, mashing, all the things. When it's ready, you'll get an alert right to your smartphone and boom, get your meat. Grilled with confidence, my friends. Cook with precision. Host without the stress. And this is perfect for summer barbecues happening now, weekend night dinners, whatever you got going on, and many other things. And there's a flash sale happening right now. So check the link in the description. You're going to get 15% off at chefiq.com. Use promo code Robert. That's chefiq.com, promo code Robert, and get smarter cooking with Chef IQ. And don't burn your meats. And we appreciate them supporting today's show and sponsoring today's episode. And the links are in the description below, so check those out. All right, so my friends, now let's get into the business on the day. Now that our appetites are all warmed up, we got some news to attend to. Trump's polls surge and continue to rise, even in the aftermath of this little Epstein battle that seemed like a pretty big kerfuffle amongst the MAGA right. But now CNN is saying, whoa, we're surprised on this. Trump's approval has actually risen. What? And what's interesting is the Democrats is going down. Now, two things are happening. Trump is accomplishing a lot of wins. We've seen that. Democrats are not, and they're trying to figure out who they are, especially in relation to this Epstein thing. And so CNN asked this dude why your poll ratings are so bad. And then the Democrats are now trying to seize onto the Epstein thing and turn it into something that it isn't, saying that Trump essentially isn't complicit and he's, covering up a bunch of things that they also were complicit in and trying to turn it into something that they didn't care about just because it happens to be Trump, right? And now this is more. We got Scarborough. We've got CNN dunking on Pramila. All of them are saying, what are you doing? What are you guys talking about? Where you been for 4 years? You guys are nuts. So the story starts with these rising poll numbers, catching some people by surprise, saying that actually, if you're not a hyper online person or super sucked into the politics, you're looking at the other benefits to the country, many of which we've talked about here. Borders are closed. A lot of the trans insanity is gone. We're talking about tariffs and reshoring a bunch of domestic capability. It looks like it's happening in real time, watching these new things break ground. And the list goes on and on. And in the context of all of the wins, you have a little bit of an Epstein, problem. But what does that do to the base ultimately who continues to see the winning occur? Here is what CNN reported.
I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, They're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints, or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real.
Yes,
in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah. I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%. One responded. This is a great little finding that Ariel Edwards-Levy, who of course is part of our polling unit, found. Just one single Republican said that the nation's top problem is in fact the Epstein case. Not much of a surprise that therefore Donald Trump's approval rating has not suffered with Republicans because of the Epstein case. Because the bottom line is most Americans say it's not high up on their priority.
Yeah, I can't imagine many people would say it's the number one issue in the world. There's a lot of issues. It's an important one. So anyways, the story is that it's not cratering, right? It's not crashing into oblivion. It is more or less people now having to make a decision about all the wins versus this thing that they're unhappy about. And for many of us here, the Epstein thing is the thing that we're unhappy about. But because we talk about justice, we covered the Ghislaine Maxwell case. We spent a lot of time talking about the corruption of the FBI and the DOJ, listening, supporting Cash and Dan and Pam and the rest of them, all going in there, hopefully resolving these things. So it's like one of our main issues. But for a lot of other people, it's just not. They've got other issues. And for them, it's this or that or the other thing. And many other people are also, they abandon ship, right? When Trump dropped some bombs on Iran, you had a contingent. I'm out. When Trump says he's not going to commit to a national right to life, amendment or something to the same degree that the pro-lifers want, I'm out. They always say, right? So long story short, right? Politics moves on and it's a game of judgment and a game of wins and losses and decisions and priorities from the executive branch. And long and short, we're going to continue to march on. So as we see, the Democrats, though, are trying to figure out who they are. They have no real identity. They're trying to latch on to somebody, Commie Mom Donnie, or maybe, Pete Booty, or whomever they're going to try to come up with. But as it stands right now, not looking so good. So Trump's numbers looking good. His support is still strong and solid. But what about the Democrats? They are hitting all-time lows.
There's this new CNN polling out today that says quite a bit. Just 28% of Americans view the Democratic Party favorably. And the context of that is the lowest mark for Democrats in the history of CNN's polling going back to 1992. And for Democrats, they have a lot more work to do to win back favorability within their ranks, within the party, than...
Yeah, it would have been nice to hear his answer maybe, but yeah, it's bad, right? So he's like, well, we work hard and keep delivering for the American people, whatever, meaningless stuff. So he says that. Now, we also see the media is lacing into the Democrats. So we've got two of these happening where one came from CNN and one came from Joe Scarborough, which is an interesting one. Even Joe Scarborough, says Jason Rance over at KTTH Radio, says even Joe Scarborough is calling out Democrats for their sudden interest in the Epstein files. It's also staged and in bad faith. Exactly right. They just latch onto anything. But we were actually wondering, there's some weird stuff going on with the Epstein thing, obviously. But we were wondering why the Democrats were so quiet for a while. Okay, they were very quiet. Nobody talked a whole lot about it, right? Pam wrote the memo and they're all like, Nobody said anything from the Democrat side, and we're always waiting for them to start barking off, right? It's the dog that's barking, and then suddenly they weren't barking. Everything Trump does, they sue him for, why? Like, where's the ACLU lawsuits suing Trump to release the Epstein files? Where's Norm Eisen's democracy docket or whatever, right? Release those files. Maybe they'll be coming. We don't know. But they were all pretty quiet about it. But now something is starting to percolate. And it may be because they sense there's a little bit of a wedge and a fracture in the Trump base based on that prior tweet or post, Truth Social post he talked about, which Caroline is going to clarify for us, right? She's going to come out today. She got questions today. She's going to explain what was actually going on with the hoax terminology and what the president meant by that, to clear up the air a little bit on that. So we'll come back to that. But we also saw Raskin is now one of these people who's trying to take this issue and run with it in bad faith. Jamie Raskin, of course, is just a maniac who calls himself a constitutional scholar, who perverts the Constitution to achieve his political ends and then comes and lectures everybody about it on MSNBC. But this time he got called out by Joe Scarborough, who's married to Mika Brzezinski.
It's important because the sexual abuse of young people and children is a crisis throughout our society. There's, of course, the church scandal, or many church scandals. There's what happened at Michigan State. There's what happened at Ohio State. There's
Congressman, you could have gotten that from 21 to 25 when Democrats controlled the DOJ. Why? It was a crisis then. It's a crisis now.
Yeah.
Why didn't Democrats call for it from 21 to 25?
Good question, Joe.
So, I mean, you'd have to go back and look specifically at particular prosecutorial decisions and what was taking place in terms of the other cases. So I don't know. We could try to reconstruct that record. But the point is that Donald Trump is the one who has led the crusade to say that that Epstein, who was his very close friend, and there's all kinds of pictures of them and so on, that Epstein was at the center of this broad conspiracy.
A lot of pictures with Epstein and a lot of people like Bill Clinton getting that massage in that airport that one time.
He's now in a position to do exactly what he demanded, which was to release all of the files. And so why is that not happening? That's the question. I can't answer for Merrick Garland or any of, anybody else in the Department of Justice. But I will tell you that I believe there is a bipartisan consensus in the Judiciary Committee now that all of these records need to be released, and it's within their power to do it. That's what they were demanding. All they have to do is release the files, and not some of them, not the ones that Bondi deems credible. They all should be released. And by the way, they're also talking about subpoenaing Maxwell to come testify. That's great. She obviously, though, is looking for a presidential pardon and clemency, so she should not be viewed as the oracle for everything that happened. We should take her testimony with a grain of salt, but it's fine if they want to bring her forward, and that can be part of it, but we want the files themselves.
Yeah, so suddenly they want the files. They had 4 years to go do anything with them. Now they want them, and that is curious because you start to ask, well, what did they put in the files? And I know some people might think that's crazy, but they have done that twice in the last 2 elections. So why wouldn't they create another fake hoax, which they've already done? The Steele dossier hoax, the 51 laptop intelligence morons who all signed that piece of paper, all fake. And they did that to try to rig an election. So why would the DOJ or the FBI not create some evidence about Epstein? I think that is a real plausible thing. And when you start to hear the Democrats coming out like, actually, we want those records. And I saw Schiff, he's like, no, well, let's get those records, especially that one that's in the 3rd drawer down that we shoved underneath and behind the tissues. Get that record too, because I put that in there 3 months ago. It's good. It's a really good one. It says Trump, Epstein, all the things, use ChatGPT, create a bunch of AI images, whatever. So that was Raskin getting called out on it. And Pramila even had a harder time. She was over here with CNN, and she gets asked about this multiple times. Like, where you been, Pramila? What have you been doing? Now you're going to come out and scream about Epstein? You've been silent for 4 years.
If you see such a need to investigate this, why didn't you raise it during the Biden administration? I mean, we couldn't find that you made any public comments about Epstein in previous administrations.
Oh, weird.
Well, I would have been happy to raise it then as well. Frankly, we were focused on so many different pieces, but I have been one
January
of the Democrats
6ers.
that has been consistent on what I call out Republican presidents for and Democratic presidents for, whether it is FISA, reforms that we need, whatever it has been. I've been pretty consistent. War powers. I've criticized Joe Biden just as I'm criticizing Donald Trump. I think transparency is not something that should happen only when you have a Republican president. It is something that we need for both Democratic and Republican presidents.
So then why didn't you call for more transparency earlier during the Biden administration? I'm just trying to better understand why you are so intent now on calling for this.
Because she hates Trump.
Well, I think I gave it the same focus that I'm giving it now. We haven't, I think I've released one tweet on this, and you wanted to talk about it, so I'm happy to talk about it here, but it certainly hasn't been the focus. I'm just responding to what I think is a massive switch from the Trump administration around this issue. My focus has been on the big bad betrayal bill, and I will continue to focus on that. But yes, I think that this information should have been released under the Biden administration. It should be released under the Trump administration.
Yeah, and so they were totally silent until it became useful against Trump because they're trying to use it as a cudgel against the administration, just like everything else. Just took them about a week or two to get their talking points in order. So the media, right, coming down on them, Scarborough and CNN, a little bit of a surprise from both of them. And Democrats are trying to find their form on this and working through it. Now, there was a battle that happened today on the floor of the Senate. This guy, this Ruben Gallego over from Arizona, he came out and he got objected to by the great Senator Mark Wayne Mullen.
Enough with the secrets. The American people deserve the truth. So I'm calling on my fellow senators to join me in demanding the Department of Justice release the Epstein files to restore public trust, affirm institutional accountability, and to prevent the politicization of justice. With that, as if in legislative session and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of S.R. 325 submitted earlier today. Further, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Okay, so like C- for reading, could hardly enunciate any of those words in his pre-written statement that some other person wrote for him. And then it goes from him over to another person with a little bit more brain power and functionality.
Is there an objection?
I reserve the right to object.
The senator from Oklahoma.
Mr. President, this is nothing but political theater.
Yeah.
It's so obvious that the Democrats are just using this for a political football. If they were really serious about it, what happened the last 4 years? Or were they silent?
Yeah.
Doing nothing but covering up for an absent president? And now all of a sudden they want to talk about transparency? We haven't even figured out who ran the White House the last 4 years, and now all of a sudden they want to make something of this? Are you kidding me? If they're serious about it, then why didn't they say something the last 4 years? This is nothing more than just political theater trying to go after a president that they truly despise. With that, I object.
The objection is heard.
Objection is heard, and it's a good one. Thank you, Mark Wayne Mullen, for that. Absolutely right. That's all they're here for now. Now, he also said, I've been 100% focused on our MAGA legislative agenda. One big, beautiful bill, Doge cuts, and more. Now, my take on the Epstein files, says Mark Wayne Mullen, is transparency is always a good thing. Victims deserve justice, and DC liberals are using Epstein as a political football after 4 years of doing nothing about it. And they don't care about transparency or prosecution of these people. A lot of them are Democrat donors. Bill Gates, in fact, is one of them. And you remember, Bill Gates donated a lot of money over to them. Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you know, all this Democrat money. Guys like Reid Hoffman funding the litigation against Trump to try to take him out. Our friend Maze over at Mazemore on X, amazing individual to follow, shared this clip. Remember this one back from 2021, another CNN report taking us back down memory lane.
After 27 years of marriage, their surprising split has become a source of great interest.
Look at Bill and Obama. What's going on with that? Oh, yeah.
And now questions are arising whether Bill Gates' contact with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein may have played a role. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Melinda Gates was concerned over her husband's relationship with Epstein going back many years. Melinda Gates made her concerns known to her husband, according to the Journal's Emily Glazer.
She expressed her frustration to Bill Gates and really didn't feel comfortable with the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, especially since Melinda Gates is a global advocate for women and girls. And it was already known that Jeffrey Epstein, had his issues. And that dismay was expressed, but Bill Gates continued meeting and having ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
In fact, according to the New York Times, beginning in 2011, Gates met with Epstein on numerous occasions, including at least 3 times at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse.
Weird.
And at least once staying late into the night. Gates emailing colleagues in 2011, his lifestyle is very different and kind of intriguing, although it would not work for me, the Times reported. In 2019, Gates told the Wall Street Journal he did not have a business relationship or friendship with Epstein.
Okay. We know what kind of relationship he had. Not a business relationship, not a personal relationship, but in other words, not an official business relationship, but maybe a trafficker relationship. But apparently, we're not going to know. So that came out a long time ago, and of course, the question has long been, what is being covered up? What is the full story? And this was an interesting little excerpt here. News Nation had on this fella, and he is a forensic expert that said, this is bizarre. Jake Green is saying that the video file is actually missing like 3 minutes, and there's a cursor moving around, which we saw. There's a little editing box up there. The cameras, when they cut out, it looks like they mashed 2 files together, and the moron editor just like cut off the minute, which I do all the time when I edit my own stuff. I'm like, what happened to the video? Oh yeah, you copy and pasted right over it, dummy. It takes me 5 minutes to figure it out. But we do, and then we fix it. The DOJ did. They just left that 1 minute out, apparently. And so here's what Jake Green, the digital forensic expert, had to say.
All data is something that is in a forensically reliable format, meaning that we can go in and review it and confirm that it matches the original. What has been produced in this case is what you could consider as work product. This is not the original. This is a child of the original. There's so many issues with this video. The minutes missing, the jumps. We can sometimes see a cursor move in the top right corner. There's so many pieces wrong with this video, and for the DOJ to release it, it's strange, and it's kind of unnerving to know that this is the way they want to do this.
It sounds kind of dopey, actually, when you say what you said about the cursor being seen up on the top, because as we all know, surveillance cameras don't have cursors. So is there any way that I'm making a mountain out of a molehill? Is there any way that it's just normal to take a surveillance camera and then have a human download it and have a human send it off to the DOJ and then have the DOJ as humans send it out to us, and that's what we're really seeing?
Yeah, that sounds exactly right.
I don't think the first part of what you said happened. I don't think that this was a download from a surveillance system. I think this was what we call a screen capture. This is just a copy of a video of a video. So somebody went in with some type of software to actually record what the screen was showing. It's not in a reliable format. It may be reliable as to what was on the screen, but it cannot be confirmed to match what was originally recorded. So I think that's really what we're seeing here is just, it truly is the work product of FBI going in and attempting to change and alter and perhaps try to enhance the video, but it's clearly not the original.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I do not think it was the original, and we didn't get the impression that it was the original, and the reason for that, which we explained, was because I've requested a ton of body camera videos, dash cam videos, jail videos, videos from the government. Almost every time you get it, it's in some weird form, right? Different police departments, different prosecutors, different jails have different systems. They all use some stupid proprietary file system that's like a zip file, kind of breaks things, like 700 files. And then you have to extract it to one thing and use their special software to get it. So I can understand having a difficult time converting that to something else. Like it actually is not that easy, right? It might be easier nowadays, but generally, like when you're dealing with old file formats and it's actually kind of a nightmare. A lot of, like Scottsdale Police Department, for example, it's pretty easy to get body cams from them. They've got new body cameras and new computers and stuff. But if you go to an old DPS facility and use their, cameras from 20 years ago, it's going to be difficult to get in many instances or to process. So then I could see, all right, they're just going to load it up on the device and then just record it playing through. And that's what's going to capture the mouse, right? But that still doesn't explain the 1 minute cutoff. So they would still have to do the screen record and I think edit them together, like open up the one file from the time up to midnight, then open up the second file from midnight to the next one, and then still mash those together, even if they are doing screen records. So in other words, what I think this guy might be intimating is that it's a copy of a copy. That's a screen record. Then they took the screen record, then shoved that in a video editor, then mashed the 2 screen records together. That's how he lopped off the 1 minute. And that's how we captured a lot of the, the cursor movement and maybe even got the angle changes, right? Because it's 2 video files. You put the second video file in there, and now it's just, you're kind of zooming in or zooming out on it. So it's a lot of manipulation coming out. And then you also can't post the proprietary file format, on the internet for downloading. And so they convert it to an MP4 file so we can all watch it together and all that. So, but I think the bigger question, of course, is about the minute. Now they're saying it's up to like 3 minutes. in different parts of the video, and a lot of questions about it. But one person who's also having a difficult time trying to find herself is Nancy Pelosi. And there's a weird thing going on with her, because I think that her social media team is out of alignment with her brain, because Nancy Pelosi has two statements out today that don't seem to be in alignment with each other. She posted an actual post that said, for reasons known only to him, Trump is now refusing to appoint a special prosecutor in the Epstein case after weeks of refusing to release the Epstein files, says Nancy. I don't think she wrote this. This week, House Democrats voted unanimously to release the files. Republicans voted to keep them hidden. With deep respect for the victims, their trauma, and their privacy, everyone on the Epstein list must be held accountable, no matter who they are. Release the files. And like, if Nancy's calling for it, you go, whoa, that's interesting. Because like, it's Obama and Bill Gates who just appoint, presidential medal for Bill Gates. It's Reid Hoffman, lots of other people who are mega Democrats. That's kind of what Epstein was doing. He was the honeypot for the tech bros, for academia, and for the political bros. And he was just that segment of society. Well, Diddy went and did music and media. So Nancy Pelosi said that, and then she came out on MSNBC and actually called the whole thing a distraction. So ask yourself if this statement from Nancy matches that prior post.
Is it your sense there's anything the president can do now to get his supporters to move off of the Epstein issue? Should he? Where do you land on this?
We're moving on. Yeah, we're off of it.
Again, this is a distraction. This is a distraction. We have major issues right here with things we're voting on today in the Congress. Again, in terms of the rescission that the president and the Senate have sent back over us to cut all of these resources out of helping poor people throughout the world, to be America play its leadership role in soft power to keep us safe and to keep us healthy, so that viruses know no boundary. And instead, we're talking about about this thing, and his own base has its own views of what the president should do. I'll leave it up to them to talk it out. But again, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or Alcatraz, it's all off the subject of what they're doing with this budget that is harmful to the kitchen table, meeting the kitchen table needs of the American people.
Okay, so that does not sound like what she just posted, right? She's like, it's a distraction, move on. I care about the budget and I care about spending and all the things. So who wrote this message? And why are they different than each other? Release a special prosecutor and we want everyone accountable and all the things? Weird. Like, the Democrats are just having a hard time trying to figure out who they are and what they're doing, but that's usually the case with them. Now, we also got Mike Johnson. He was out today. Short clip from him posted over via Call-in Rug. Here's what the Speaker of the House had to say about this.
For transparency, I'm saying the same thing the president is, that you need to have all of the credible information released for the American people to make their decision. We trust the American people, and I know the president does as well. That's an important principle to abide by here. What they have to do, though, what the president has to do is protect the innocent. I mean, there are, whistleblowers and minors' names involved in things related to Epstein, obviously, and you got to be careful not to release that.
Yeah. You do have to be careful not to release that. And it's not that complicated to exercise that care. Now, we also had this. Trump called in to John Solomon. John Solomon yesterday was reporting that there was going to be a special prosecutor. Does not sound like that's going to happen. But there was another interview from the president, and he was asked about whether he would declassify certain things about other investigations, okay, related to Obama, Durham, Hillary, Brennan, Comey, the rest of them. Here was the president on with Just the News.
Declassify it? Yeah, why not? I would absolutely declassify it. And I will say this, the Durham report was preceded by the Horowitz report. That's and right. Bill Barr should have used the Horowitz report. You didn't need the Durham report because that's right. Say what you want about Mr. Horowitz. So he was appointed by Democrats, but he wrote the most vicious and true report that you've ever seen on somebody, and that was on James Comey. Yep. And I believe, a couple of the people in the FBI that were crooked. But this report was so big, and then go back and check, even the New York Times wrote a violent editorial about Comey based on this report. Yep. And for some reason, Bill Barr didn't use it. I never, it's such a disappointment. but he didn't use it. But that was one of the big things, and it got very little press. I think it was approximately 28 pages of corruption, absolute corruption.
You're right.
And that should have been used. Well, instead, Barr wanted to do a further report. So he put Durham in charge, and, Durham took years. I mean,
total waste of time.
It took so many years. I think it was just a tapping. I think you ought to look at that, too. Why did they tap it along? They tapped it along forever. Do you remember how long it took for Durham to come out with his report?
23.
By the time he came out with the report, everybody was old.
It was old. It was done. Yeah, and nothing happened. So thanks for nothing there, John Durham. All right, so that was the president. We'll see if there's more action on that. There are statute of limitations coming up, I think, for John Brennan, like in 30 days. I saw that from Hans Mahnke over on X. And so we'll see if the DOJ comes up with anything as a substitution. But one thesis that we had for Trump and his posts, which kind of felt, a little extra aggressive, calling me a weakling and an idiot. But, I understand it. Things get, a little contentious sometimes. But not a big deal. We understand. Now, one thesis was that maybe Trump was sick, right? And I was kind of only half joking about that, because he also seemed a little bit off at some of the press briefings that we saw, a little bit lower energy. The schedule was also pretty light. We talk about Trump and his schedule basically every morning on our members-only streams, just to see what he's up to, what Congress is up to, get bearings on all the things that are happening around us, and we have a great time. But we were wondering, was he sick or something? And Caroline Leavitt came out and said, actually, yeah, maybe, right? He had some swelling in the hands and ankles, could have just been a little bit grumpy. You know how it is, man. You get a cold and suddenly you're like, I'm just mad at everything and everybody. It's because you're sick. Just chill out. Go take some medicine and go to bed. All right, so they were asking about that today. Caroline Leavitt came out and dropped an explanation for this. And we also now have the memo that came out from the physician to the president from the White House. This is the official post. Says, in recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. And President Trump remains in excellent health. Now, I think Caroline is going to basically read that, so let's go to her and she can read it much better than I. Here is the press secretary today.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers.
Nice.
All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy.
And the president is doing just fine, as we saw in the order. Says, summary, President Trump remains in excellent health. And that's great news. So, summary from the president's doctor, he's doing good, and we're happy that he seemingly is on the mend. Now, other questions came out towards Caroline Leavitt today, all about the Epstein stuff. And here is how it went down. She came out, gave us the announcement, told us about the president's health, and here is what the media said to her.
Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should.
Rude.
Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
No, actually, the Democrats are much more interested in helping the illegal aliens who are trafficking the fentanyl into the country, who are resulting in dead kids. So we know where their priorities are. Now, Caroline Leavitt also, of course, asked about Epstein, and I think this was a much better response than we have heard previously from the White House, which is basically, we understand your concerns, we did our diligence, we met our promise, you've gotten all the information that we're prepared to give. I know you might disagree with it, but we've got other things to worry about. Winning, 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 right? Much better than saying that the thing is a hoax and that the people who bought into it are idiots or something like that, when there was even people in the administration themselves asking for those very same things, like Bongino, Pam, and Kash, and more. So this, I think, is a much more respectable response and how it should have been handled from the beginning, and just move on from it. But that obviously is not where we are at. So we saw that. The other little short clip we saw was about whether we'll get a special counsel on this. I always had my doubts about that because it makes no sense, right? A special counsel would drag this on for years, would, if they found anything different than Pam Bondi or Kash Patel, if they thought there were anything else there, then it would undermine Kash and Pam and say, oh, you guys are idiots. You didn't find these records. I did as the special counsel. So I don't think it's going to happen. And Caroline Leavitt is confirming that today.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure.
Would not recommend it because it's about to be done. Now, we also saw this. There is real human trafficking going on, and the Democrats are here talking about Epstein just because they want to turn it into a big thing. They sense a little bit of a disturbance on the right, and they want to make sure that they can take full advantage of that. But what is interesting is that they had human traffickers bringing in children to the tunes of hundreds of thousands. It's not my number, it's their numbers. It's probably 3 times that, if not more. And they allowed those people to go free. Kilmar was bringing in, according to the DOJ, kids in his car on the floorboards. And now the Democrats are going to come out and say, release the records. Give me a break. Now, here was Representative Clay Higgins dropping it like he's not playing around on the House floor today.
And much to the chagrin of a whole abhorrent industry of child trafficking that prospered from the open border policies of the Biden administration for 4 years, 2021, 22, 23, and 24. Much to the chagrin of these people that made bank, man. We're coming after them.
Yeah.
And this executive branch is building criminal files. So I hope they're watching, and I hope they're frightened, and I hope they're getting their affairs in order, hiring their liberal attorneys to defend them, starting to shuffle their money around. We'll find it. Mr. Howell, are you aware that ongoing right now in our country, if DHS, ICE, FBI, local and state law enforcement agencies working on classified operations to locate, find, and rescue trafficked, tender age, mostly girls. I'm talking about girls under 14 and younger across the country that were trafficked into our country in 2021, 22, 23, and 24. Are you aware that those operations are ongoing?
Yes, sir. They're trying to find the children the Biden administration lost.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Ms. Hopper, are you aware?
I am.
Mr. Rosas?
Correct. I'm aware.
Thank you. Would you be surprised that according to my research, which will very soon be revealed next week, they've rescued so far 35,000 tender age kids. How you like that? Now, according to Ms. Hopper's research, which I find fascinating.
We like it. It's a lot of kids recovered, but it's an insane number. Do you know how many people that is? Like a sports stadium of kids who were trafficked into our country. It's sick.
And everybody up here should. 70% of the documentation turned in by so-called sponsors, which were lined up by who? The NGOs. Through who? Primarily HHS. There's a pipeline, man. We fed a pipeline of tender age children into sex trafficking and slave labor into our country. We're finding these kids. We're tracking this fraudulent documents. You're right, Ms. Hopper. My research showed a little bit less, 65%. You said 70%. I'll go with 70. So be advised. Be advised. We are building out case files, criminal case files. We're interviewing these 35,000 kids, and we're finding out exactly what the hell happened.
Good.
How they ended up in the nightmare where they were. And we're rescuing more. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. We're going to identify these children. We're locating these children. We're rescuing these children. And we're building out criminal files based upon the testimony of these young teenagers and the documentation of fraudulent vetting. And many of these NGO employees are going to find themselves wearing orange. Be their new favorite color. Mr. Chairman.
We hope so, Clay. We certainly hope so. So it sounds really good. Now, of course, he's not a prosecutor. He's a representative over in Congress, but they do have investigatory powers, right? They send the letters all the time under Rule 10, House Rule 10. We can investigate anything or whatever. And they send all the records. So maybe they'll get them and they can create their criminal records and their compendiums and then send it over to Pam Bondi. But just don't put it on her desk. So Trump and his polls look like they're going up. And the MAGA winning continues. After the Epstein battle, we want continual progress in our country. And Trump is delivering. So we'll keep our eye on this. The Democrats are going to continue to scramble to try to turn this into something. And what's so interesting about this is when Trump first started calling it an Epstein hoax and saying that's like a bunch of dumb people bought into it and all the things, like the Democrats hadn't really sunk their teeth into it too hard yet. Now today, they came out hard today and they're sinking their teeth into it. And so they're kind of like playing into exactly what he said. He said the Democrats are creating this hoax, and now they are. They're actually manifesting it and making it real. And so Trump, in many ways, is creating the future that he wants, and the Democrats are falling right into it, and they're getting called out on it. They're like morons about it. They just left power. They just left office. They could have done all of it, but they didn't, and they're going to still scramble around to try to save themselves, and they're going to lose in the process. So we'll be here continuing to cover this story. Maybe, hopefully it's over. And we appreciate you joining us as we do. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you back here on the next one. But we're not done yet. We've got more stories here. And this was a very interesting one. Let's start with this photo right here. An illegal alien busted for lying about an ICE kidnapping. What a strange situation where this person called Juliana Julia Calderon, age 41, in our country illegally, she orchestrated her absconding and alleged robbery, theft, kidnapping, abduction committed by bounty hunters in South LA. In fact, this story came out back on June 30th, all fake. She lied about the whole thing. They had a whole press conference on this, okay? They came out, they made signs. You know how much work it is to make a sign? You got to go to like a Hobby Lobby or something, and you got to go find a poster board. Sometimes Walgreens will have them, but then you got to have like markers, and it's a big thing. It's a big complicated process. They did like 5 of them, okay? And then they sat down, someone had to find somebody to speak English, and then wrote some signs for him. Probably the same person, looks like all the same font. I'm like, I can't speak English or write English. Can you write this? Like, yeah, of course. Just give me it. So this was back in June 30th, 2025. And look what they say, that Julie, the innocent illegal, was a loyal local activist. And she was abducted by men at gunpoint in an unmarked car on the way to work. Now, according to the family's lawyer, she was taken by men, and during a phone call, she was able to share with her family that she was not taken to a detention center or processed. Instead, she was taken to the border where she was presented with self-deportation paperwork. Oh, no. Federal agents. But when Julie, said her lawyers, refused to sign the paperwork, and when Julie demanded to see a judge, when Julie demanded to speak to an attorney, she was punished, said her lawyers. Yeah. She was taken back to an unmarked van along with other travelers who were also insisting on their rights, and they were taken to a warehouse where she was only given water, a warehouse where she was not even given food, where men and women were being held together, and a warehouse without any law enforcement employee, without any official there presented. She told her family she's being held there until she agrees to self-deportation. Another attorney with that other group said that she remains absent. She's not in the ICE locator. Yeah, because ICE didn't have her. She's a liar. The mother of 3 who lived in South Los Angeles for more than 20 years is a member of a community organization called Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, one of these stupid organizations that exist to just steal money from the rest of us. Calderon has since been able to make 2 phone calls to her family, but no one knows where she's at. She's probably at the casino with her lover. Maybe. Community leaders are outraged by yet another abduction by men in unarmed, unmarked cars with unknown affiliations. And she was able to make a phone call. I don't know where I'm at. And during a press conference, they got gathered together and they called on authorities. They said, don't close our eyes on our families. She got abducted by federal agents. Trump's goons came out. Turns out she's a liar, allegedly. Here's what the DOJ said. Sorry, Julie. An illegal alien from Mexico has now been charged in a federal criminal complaint with orchestrating a phony kidnapping, which she blamed on federal agents or people working for federal agents to generate public sympathy and to solicit donations, said the DOJ, and so that her friends could make signs for her. She's 41, illegal alien called Juliana Julia Pelez Calderon. She's being charged with conspiracy and making false statements to federal officers. Now, she is now in U.S. immigration custody, and she's expected, now actually in custody, though, like for real this time. thanks for helping us identify her, is expected to make her initial appearance in the coming weeks back in downtown LA. Someone over from Homeland called Bill Esseley, he's the U.S. attorney over there, he said, dangerous rhetoric that ICE agents are kidnapping illegal aliens is being recklessly peddled by politicians and echoed in the media to inflame the public and to discredit our courageous federal agents. Now, the conduct alleged in the complaint today shows this hoax kidnapping was a well-orchestrated conspiracy. In fact, she and all those involved will face the full consequences of their conduct under federal law. And I thank our partners at Homeland and all federal agents who are facing unprecedented levels of assault for keeping cool heads during this time. Now, according to an affidavit filed with the complaint filed Wednesday, which I've not seen public yet, an attorney representing Calderon's family held a press conference on June 30th. And we saw a little bit of that. Here's just a taste of it so you can hear from the news.
A family member collapses after a press conference about a missing mom detained by ICE 5 days ago.
Oh, she collapsed.
It was hot and emotions were running high in South LA.
Yeah.
Family members gathered to fan her with the protest signs. During the news conference, loved ones of Julie Calderon, a mom of 3 children, all born here in the U.S., denounced what they call her abduction by ICE. She was picked up on her way to work 5 days ago by men in an unmarked car. Her family says, and she hasn't been seen or heard from since.
Ask for our authorities to not close our eyes to our families. This is not the only family going through this. There's plenty of families going through this nightmare right now where we don't know.
Yeah, we think that's true. Yeah, there probably are thousands of families going through this, lying about their status, lying about what's happening to them, making up crap about ICE agents who are doing these bad things. We get it. So, yeah, he's lots of families. They'll believe ICE kidnapped. No, she was probably just finding herself somewhere, all right? Now, the DOJ obviously responded, said, here's what happened. The press conference garnered media attention. All the libs were like, yeah, she's a scholar. She came in here to work on her PhD and just raise a family and live the American dream, creating fake hoaxes and stoke fear in the community. Meanwhile, Calderon's daughter set up a GoFundMe. They wanted $4,500, I guess, for maybe some like pupusa machinery. She was taken by masked men in an unmarked vehicle when she was on her way to work. Now, the DOJ says, according to the complaint, the entire story was fabricated. On July 3rd, when Calderon was still purportedly missing, federal agents grew concerned after confirming that Calderon was not in immigration custody. They said, oh, crap. Do we take her? Like, where do we go? Did we lose her? Homeland Security investigations began searching for her over the holiday weekend. On July 5, Homeland agents tracked Calderon down in a shopping plaza parking lot in Bakersfield. Oh, Calderon continued to falsely claim that she was taken by masked men and held in custody with others. She just wanted some time away from her family, probably. Want to go have a couple beers and just, just check out. Video surveillance, including video of Calderon leaving the Jack in the Box. She just wanted a sourdough Jack, man. And some curly fries. So she had to make up a whole fake hoax. In a parking lot and getting into a nearby sedan. Oh, yeah. She's getting some curly fries with her lover getting some curly fries. You know what I mean? As well as telephone records. They demonstrate that Calderon fabricated the entire story. Made it up. Calderon and her family knew that law enforcement was searching for her and feared for her safety. But Calderon and her family did not even come forward. They just let the whole hoax go on. Instead, Calderon created what law enforcement believed to be fabricated photos of her rescue, made it look to see like she was abused while in ICE custody, and they plan to hold a press conference on July 6th to get more donations. So all the stupid libs, you're like, this woman has suffered at Trump's goons. You still have Jack in the Box sauce on your face, Yuri. What are you doing? Diverting critical law enforcement resources is not only reckless and irresponsible, but it also endangers the community. And since early July, Special Agent Eddie Wang said, my office invested valuable time and resources. We were working this alleged kidnapping investigation only to discover that it was a hoax. Now, the real cost of a fraud like this is the amount of fentanyl not seized, child predators not removed from the communities, and human trafficking victims not rescued because law enforcement had to go find this illegal alien shoving Jack in the Box in her face in Burbank. Now, diverting is a big problem, and says, we want to assure the public that allegations of criminal activity will be thoroughly investigated by Homeland and our law enforcement partners, and that those who engage in fraud and deception will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Now, if convicted, she could face a maximum statutory sentence of 5 years in prison and 5 years for the false statements. Also, shout out to the Garden Grove Police Department and others. So we'll wait for that complaint to come out. I'm sure it's going to be a good one when it hits. It has not currently, but we did see there was some video footage. You can see they got the whole thing kind of captured in there, and the full live press conference, right? This is coming over from Ace Action over on Facebook. Say, wow, okay, they're all there. Community action members, yeah. Save Yulee. Where's Yulee? She's at Jack in the Box. Just go pick her up. It's right around the corner. Now, there's more. Fox News reported on what they're hearing. Here's what they said.
And blaming federal agents or people working with them. Correspondent Matt Finn reporting live on this from LA. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Martha. This woman is here illegally, a Mexican national. She goes by Julie Calderon, and the feds say she's being charged with lying to police and conspiracy for this elaborate hoax that they believe was meant to incite even more tension and also possibly make some money. Federal investigators say a key piece of evidence, photos. Calderon and her co-conspirators had pictures ready, staged to make it look like she was in custody with a dirty face, even removing her shoelaces. But the feds say there's at least one glaring error, because she would have been asked to take off the necklace in an official federal photo. The U.S. government says surveillance video helped them crack the case. The feds say this woman lied about being kidnapped by federal agents at a Jack in the Box here in L.A., taken to San Ysidro to the south, and asked to self-deport, but she refused, so she was held in a warehouse. But the feds say they caught her roaming free in the Bakersfield area, hundreds of miles north. This scheme went to extremes: a filed police report, a GoFundMe, even a press conference announcing her disappearance.
So in this very parking lot a week ago, ununiformed men in unmarked cars kidnapped Julie. And with her courage and her strength, even though we don't know where Julie is, and we don't know when we will find her, Julie has managed to make 2 phone calls to the family since she's been kidnapped.
The Department of Justice says Calderon was indeed using her iPhone during her alleged disappearance, which helped them locate her. She faces a maximum of 10 years if convicted. The U.S. attorney here in L.A. says, quote, dangerous rhetoric that ICE agents are kidnapping illegal migrants is being recklessly peddled by politicians and echoed in the media to inflame the public and discredit our courageous federal agents. We do have calls into that attorney who you saw in that video who is representing this woman. And also there are also co-conspirators listed throughout this federal complaint, so we expect there may be more people charged here.
Yeah, good. And they should be charged if they're creating fake hoaxes, and they should leave the country if they're illegal. So nice to see the DOJ pushing back on what is a hoax, and the media just runs with it. And she was involved in it, and everybody took it hook, line, and sinker and ate it up. But the deportations will continue until the situation improves. And now the DOJ is going after the lists. Here's what Chad Mizell had to say about this. He says, every illegal alien has broken federal immigration law and violated our nation's sovereignty. How hard is that to say? Why can't more Congress people say that? But those who commit additional crimes on American soil are especially dangerous to our nation's safety and security. Deporting them is POTUS's highest priority. And so today, Pam Bondi said that she sent letters to several California sheriffs, including Sheriff Robert Luna of Los Angeles County, the most populous county in America. requesting a list of all inmates in their county jails who are not citizens of the United States, their crimes of arrest or conviction, and their scheduled release dates as well. It's time for California's county sheriffs to now fulfill their oath of office and keep the citizens of their countries safe and secure. This one went out to Robert Luna from Pam Bondi, everyone's favorite attorney general of all time. From Pam, she said, all right, listen, Sheriff. During the last administration, this is Pam Bondi writing, the United States suffered an invasion of illegal aliens at an unprecedented scale. Millions of illegal aliens poured into our country, including members of cartels, gangs, and violent transnational criminal organizations, and other hostile actors with malicious intent. Far too many of those illegal aliens went on to commit crimes on American soil. Too many Americans have been raped, murdered, or otherwise victimized by violent crime at the hands of illegal aliens. And too many other Americans have had their lives ruined and sometimes ended by the deadly narcotics that have illegally crossed our borders. She says, this administration is committed to enforcing federal immigration laws. Our highest priority is removing those illegal aliens who committed crimes after illegally entering the United States. Although every illegal alien by definition violates federal law, those who go on to commit crimes in our country demonstrate that they pose a heightened risk to our safety and security. And many of them are allowed to commit crimes, okay? Kilmore was allowed by the FBI to commit crimes. So using that as a threshold is not all-encompassing, right? It's underbroad. We need it to actually encompass the people who have been allowed to commit crimes, given illegal immunity, essentially, by the FBI, which is what Kilmore got. Although every illegal alien violates the laws, we're targeting the criminals. Now, as the administrator, because Kilmore, according to this standard, according to Maria Elvira GOP amnesty hack shill from Florida, she says, as long as you don't have a record, we can make you come in as a permanent resident. Now, as the administrator of LA County Jails, you, Sheriff, you're uniquely positioned to assist the federal government with our efforts to identify and remove illegal aliens who committed crimes after entering our country. Now, I am hereby requesting you, Sheriff, that you provide the DOJ with the following documents or data within 30 days. A list of all inmates in the LA County jails who are not citizens of the United States, their crimes of arrest or conviction, and their scheduled release dates. And I hope that you, sir, will voluntarily produce this requested information in furtherance of our shared duty to keep the citizens of LA actually safe. But if you or these other sheriffs refuse to voluntarily produce this info, the DOJ will pursue all available means of obtaining it, including subpoenas and other compulsory process. I also remind you, Sheriff, that the LA County Sheriff's Department is currently subject to multiple judicially enforceable settlement agreements with the DOJ that require you to provide access to certain documents and data upon request, including one that requires you to give the DOJ full and complete access to the jails and certain jail-related documents and data. Sincerely, your friend, Pamela Bondi, in a very nice letter. We like that letter. It's a nice one. It's good work. Nice job on that, Pam. Well done. All right, we got that. Now, we also have John Kennedy. He's saying, look, if you're an illegal, then you're an illegal. It's not that complicated. Here's John Kennedy over from LA explaining this very simple concept that's hard for many on the left to understand.
The people who believe in open borders, they're trading panic attacks, but they shouldn't be surprised. Illegal immigration is illegal. Duh. President Trump ran on a platform of enforcing the law, and that's what he is doing. And if you obstruct that, you should have two choices: either change the law or go to jail. And until we start putting these folks into jail, it's going to continue.
Okay. Wow, look, do you see those scholars? Wow, those PhD scholars who were just in America to get better lives and raise their families and be a part of the American dream. Look at all of them. Well, maybe they're going to be baseball players. Oh, I got it. baseball players just practicing their fastball. Yeah, all right. So it's an insurrectionary, invasionary force. We know what it is. Pam Bondi is going hard in the paint. We're happy to see it. Now, this was another fun response. So the Trump administration is now kicking things into high gear. You have all these dorks out here surrounding an ICE facility. Katie Daviscourt shared this one. She's over at the Post Millennial and covers the courts over there. And she's sharing this one, saying that in Portland, Oregon, federal police officers enraged anti-ICE agitators after using a Trump voice on the audio, sending them nuts.
This is the Federal Protective Service. The facility is closed and not open to the public.
Love it.
Stay out of the area of the driveway to allow for vehicular traffic. Remain on the sidewalk or across the street. Everyone must leave this restricted area and may be subject to detention or arrest for failing to depart the restricted area.
Get out!
Thank you.
What we gotta do is actually.
Oh, so good. All right, so that guy talks. All right, so they're now shooting some paintballs off. Let's listen.
What are you afraid of? Them having fascist bigots.
All right, so they turned the speaker off. But all right, so you got the gist of it. But look at all these scholars out there just spray painting all over the place. Did people spray paint all over January 6th? I don't really think so. Here you see it's all over the place. ICE, insurrection, trying to obstruct entry and exits, and having to hear the voice of America's favorite president blasted in their earlobes, which we're happy to see. So we also got that. Now, here's some more. We've got a whole bunch of illegal alien scholars in our country, and we've got some enemies within our country doing the same thing, including corrupt cops. This story is insane. Came over from Johnny Maga, clipped it out from WBRZ, and they're reporting on what happened here. This guy, Chandakaran Patel, was arrested by the feds, and, well, that may or may not be him, but here's what the story is from the news, saying that he was essentially paying off cops to charge people or to create victims reports, right? So I'm an illegal here. I've been victimized. Since you've been victimized, you're just like Kilmar Abrego wife beater, and he's under a papusa attack. So our stupid laws have opened the floodgates and the doors to allow these people to come in and claim special status. And they exploited it. And these cops got busted writing those reports.
Police officials and a businessman were arrested, accused of running an immigration fraud scheme.
Investigators say that scheme led to hundreds of foreign nationals illegally getting visas. News 2's Alexis Maroney breaks down how this case is unfolding.
Investigators say they don't want the public's trust to waver. Instead, they say the arrest should show their dedication to statewide transparency. Last summer, investigators started tracking what seemed like a high number of armed robberies.
I've never seen anything quite like this.
Many of the victims listed were not from Louisiana.
In fact, the armed robberies never took place, and those listed in the applications were never victims of crime.
According to arrest documents, for 10 years, false police reports were being made by this group of police officials. Oakdale Police Chief Chad Doyle, Marshal Mike Slaney, Forest Hill Police Chief Glenn Dixon, and former Glenmora Police Chief Tebow Onicia.
99.9% of law enforcement is good. We do a great job. We go there and work every day. We get up. We do what we're supposed to do. For whatever reason, the lure of money or whatever it is that leads them to do the wrong thing, don't do it.
The fake reports were used by foreign nationals to apply for U visas, a type of visa reserved for victims of crimes. In this case, crimes that never happened.
False visas can facilitate illegal activities in the United States, including financial crime, crimes of violence, narcotics, human trafficking, etc.
The indictment says the owner of a Subway in Oakdale, Chandrakant Patel, paid the officers $5,000 for each false report.
Jeez.
We expect law enforcement officers to protect the public and to honor their trust.
not to sell that trust and the honor of their badges for personal gain.
After collecting years of evidence, investigators made 2 arrests at the Crowne Plaza Hotel while they were attending a police chief's conference. The group is facing dozens of counts, including mail fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit visa fraud, and more charges are possible. Court dates for the individuals have not been set just yet, but I'm being told court appearances will happen in Alexandria. In the news,
I'm sure those documents will be very interesting. $5,000 a pop, man. Those cops were making some good money. And just like, oh, no, you're the victim of a crime. Where are you from? Okay, here you go. Got your paperwork, unofficial letterhead from the police. Take that to immigration, Joe Biden, and boom, they got visas. And somebody just facilitated the whole thing. Corruption through and through. Hopefully they're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and face the appropriate consequences. Now, we also saw this. They are conducting the raids and they are making arrests.
Up to a local Home Depot out here, suspected illegal immigrants started taking off running in all different directions as soon as they saw federal agents. That led to several different foot pursuits as agents were chasing them down and arresting them. We ultimately saw about 10 different people being arrested by those federal agents, and Border Patrol telling us that records checks came back on one of the guys already, showing that he is an aggravated felon with a prior conviction for fentanyl trafficking. Then take a look at this video. This was a guy who said he was a U.S. citizen fleeing from federal agents after they say he slashed the tires on one of their vehicles. You'll see him running away. He then gets taken to the ground, and he tangles with agents while he's on the ground. It appeared he kind of lunged at one of them, and you'll see the aftermath of that. Take a look at this picture right here. Those federal agents ended up macing that man in his face, took him into custody, and took him away. His wife was yelling at agents the whole time, saying he's a U.S. citizen. The agent said, too bad, he slashed one of our tires. And then take a look at these photos here. We do have photos of the vehicle that had the tire slashed. There was one puncture mark. It quickly deflated, and the agents had to drive out of the area on their rims. We caught up with the Border Patrol chief out here in charge of this operation, and we asked him, why did you decide to come here to Sacramento? Here's what he had to say.
There is no sanctuary city. Sacramento is not a sanctuary city. The state of California is not a sanctuary state. There is no sanctuary anywhere. We'll be here. You'll probably see us in many other locations as well. We're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. We're going to effect this mission and secure the homeland.
Yeah, and this is why it's very easy, I think, to become hyper aggressive in and on the immigration issue, because what we see is an invasionary and a predatory reaction from the people. All we're trying to do is enforce the law, and we have even apparently citizens now slashing tires. That's criminal damage. Can't be doing that. Hopefully there are major felonies that accompany that as well. And he's prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But you've got a bunch of illegal aliens now being prosecuted, including fake kidnapping hoaxers who just went to Jack in the Box to stuff her face with the sourdough. And we'll keep our eye on this. Shout out to the DOJ and to the California U.S. attorneys for catching this fraudster and this hoaxer and bringing her to justice. We've got that. Now, one more update on the day, and then we'll hear from you. And this one is just something else. Hunter Biden is not happy. He sat down for an interview where he was talking about his dad and saying, you know who's a liar? Jake Tapper. No, I'm being serious. He is a liar. He didn't say liar exactly, but he said Jake is not telling the truth on this thing. And that's curious because Jake Tapper was in the tank for dementia daddy Joe Biden back when he was the president. Wrote a whole book about how he was duped on the whole thing. So it's curious to see now the Biden administration circling the wagons a bit. Why is Hunty Poo coming out doing PR hits and stings on dumb podcasts? So we'll go through that. Then we've got Ed Bernal. This is Dr. Jill Biden's so-called work husband who pleaded the fifth multiple times repeatedly when asked about what his involvement was with the Hunty pardon, with dad's duties and all the other things. We've got that. Then we've got Byron Donalds, James Comer, and Ron Johnson all coming up with a reaction to the Biden crime family. But it starts with Hunter. Here is what he said about Jake Tapper dishonest.
Do you think Joe Biden was involved in some cover-up? Do you think Jake Tapper's telling the truth when he says that I was the acting chief of staff of the president? I was in that White House 12 days over the course of the last 2 years of the administration. Clearly, because I had other things going on. Okay? You ask one person to go on the record that would ever tell you that I was in any way making a single decision about anything in that White House. I stayed as far away as I possibly could, which, by the way, broke my heart. Do you think Joe Biden...
Jake Tapper's a liar, or are you a liar? We don't really know. But I thought they were friends at one point. And now Hunter is defending himself, saying, I had nothing to do with it. And you're not going to find anybody who's going to go on the record and testify to say anything differently. Catch that line? So we also saw that the Oversight Committee was digging into Ed Bernal. This is the guy, Anthony Bernal, the guy who said takes the fifth at our deposition today and didn't want to answer any questions as it relates to who was actually making those decisions. Like, if it's not Hunter, who was it? Was it Ed? If it's not Hunter, was it his brother? Was it Jill? Who was running things? It wasn't Karine, was it? Oh my gosh. So here was Ed. This was Anthony Bernal. He was saying this on the Oversight deposition interview with Congress.
Mr. Bernal, did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Thank you. We're going to go off the record real quick. Okay, we'll go back on the record. Mr. Bernal, was President Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did any unelected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did President Joe Biden ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited in your testimony to Congress today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, is it your intention to decline to answer all questions put to you today by the committee on the basis of the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I can represent that that is his intention.
Okay, and it does go on for another 20 minutes. You can check out the full thing on their YouTube channel, but it's much of the same. So why, oh why, is he pleading the fifth if people like Eric Swalwell said only guilty people plead the fifth? And if Joe Biden was totally in charge of his faculties, just say, yeah, clearly he was. Obviously he was. Byron Donalds knows what is really going on. He came out and reacted to Anthony Bernal at the congressional deposition, not answering any questions.
Your leadership on this issue. First things first, that's just crazy. You can't answer a simple question about the former president's ability to discharge his duties, and you worked in the White House as chief of staff to the First Lady, and you come in here and you plead the fifth. He can say whatever he wants in his testimony, which, by the way, his attorney read. He wouldn't even read his own statement. His attorney read his statement for him. So you came in there and said that him pleading the fifth is not an admission of guilt or anything about what was going on in the Biden White House, or was to give any inkling to the fact that Joe Biden was lacking in capability. The fact that he couldn't make any statement, the fact that the White House doctor couldn't make any statement, and they both pled the Fifth, which is their constitutional right to do, and we respect the Constitution like every American does. But the fact that they are now hiding behind the Constitution so that they don't have to tell the truth to the American people about Joe Biden's capabilities and mental faculties while he was president of the United States is not just shocking, it's stunning, and it demonstrates the level of corruption that was going on in that administration. The chairman is being nice. I don't have to be. This is corruption at the highest level. Because if you cannot answer a simple question about Joe Biden's capabilities, then that further demonstrates that he was not in charge of his administration. And if he was not in charge in his administration, then every order, every bill that was signed, every memorandum, as far as I'm concerned, are null and void. And congressional Democrats need to actually step into the light and not hide behind this stuff or run away from it, because everything that administration did, as far as I'm concerned, is unlawful.
Yeah, and think about any other industry. Like if you're a lawyer, as I happen to be, and you get a letter from the state bar, and the state bar says, hey, you know, you're under investigation for this thing. Like we have some concerns about your performance as a lawyer. Then you respond to that. And most attorneys drop everything to respond to that because it's their license that's at stake. It's their reputation. Somebody's complaining about their performance. You answer the call. State bar? Yeah, what? This is how I handled it. You're actually much nicer than saying, yeah, state bar. Yeah. And what can I do to help you? Everything okay over there? Then you solve it, right? You resolve it and you answer your questions on it. But if you were to say, if they called you and you said, I'm not answering any questions and get bent, they would take not kindly to that. And they would put that in their report when they issued a sanction against you and maybe suspended your license. They would say, refuse to cooperate, not forthcoming, not complying with their duty of candor to our licensing agency. Same thing and principle applies to every other industry, right? If you're a doctor and you do something bad and the board calls you in, hey, what? Yeah, answer questions. I'm open. And if you don't, you get in trouble. But if it's the White House, they suddenly start to plead the Fifth on this. They say, we have questions about your performance. And they say, I don't want to talk about it. What? Okay. So what does that mean? And sure, they have the right to invoke the Fifth Amendment and all the things, but can you take that in bad faith, just like any other industry would be? Okay, any other person gets accountable. Hey, you did this thing in this industry. Come into the boss's office and explain yourself. Explain yourself. Okay, great. And if you say, I'm not going to talk to you about anything, then you just get fired, right? Because you're not cooperating in good faith, and it seems like you're hiding something. So Byron Donalds is making that point.
If he did not have the ability to discharge his duties, then anything that he signed, or the auto pen signed, or whatever, as far as I'm concerned, is null and void. And where was Kamala Harris? I'm not going to speak for the chairman, I'm going to speak for myself. As far as I'm concerned, every member of the Biden administration at this point needs to be subpoenaed. I don't care if they were a secretary, I don't care if they were a janitor working in there. They all got to come in and answer questions for this committee.
Congressman, does that include Dr. Joe Biden?
Of course. Her right-hand man, listen, Anthony Bernal is the right-hand man. That's her guy, her chief of staff. If he came in here and pled the Fifth, I'm sorry. Former First Lady, she got to come in here and answer questions.
Yeah.
This is not that is the president's wife. I have a wife. James has a wife. Obviously, with family members, you want to do everything you can to protect your family. But if you can't answer a basic question to the mental capabilities of President Biden, then as far as I'm concerned, you now have to answer to the American people.
Should the former president or vice president be subpoenaed?
I think Kamala Harris needs to come in and tell us what she knew and when she knew it.
Mr. Chairman.
She ran for president, so she should be able to tell us what was going on.
Yeah, and she could have been around to invoke the 25th Amendment. She could talk about and testify about whether there were conversations about the 25th Amendment, whether it was being debated or not. And so I think her testimony is very, very relevant. We're happy to see Byron agree. Now, here was James Comer, who also has a wife, who is also responding on with the Sean Hannity program.
Congressman Comer, do you plan on calling Jill and Joe Biden in as witnesses? Well, I think the odds of calling in Jill Biden increased significantly today. We had her chief of staff and her self-proclaimed work husband there for what we planned to be an 8-hour deposition, and he kept invoking the Fifth Amendment, and his lawyer finally said, you can ask all the questions you want. We're going to invoke the Fifth Amendment on every question. So we need to know, was Jill Biden the one calling the shots? While Joe Biden was incapacitated, Anthony Bernal had an opportunity to answer those questions today. He chose to invoke the Fifth Amendment, so I would say her odds significantly increased, Sean.
All right. Bring in the so-called doctor and see what she has to say. Ron Johnson, a senator, is also looking into Dementia Joe, and here's what he's up to.
A new investigation. Senator, it's actually yours. And it's zeroing in on President Biden's final days in office and whether he was even aware of major decisions being made with his name on them. What are you looking for?
Well, first of all, to set up a historical record. Yeah, I don't like duplicating of effort, and I know, in the House they're focusing on the auto pen. I think the Department of Justice is focusing on the auto pen. What I am doing is we are calling in cabinet officials. The individuals who would be responsible for implementing the 25th Amendment. They swore an oath to the Constitution. The 25th Amendment is part of that. So we are in a very methodical way requesting interviews, transcribed interviews. We've done one. A bunch of cabinet officials are on vacation for the summer. But again, we'll take our time to create the historical record of what actually happened in the White House, what cabinet officials who would be in charge of implementing the 25th Amendment, what they knew, when they knew it. The documents that the archives attorney of the Department of Justice will ask for those same documents as well.
And we hope they get them. We'll see if Pam Bondi sends them over, but a lot has changed now, and the Republicans have control of a bunch of committees. The executive branch has the power to disclose the materials, and we hope we get it. Now, we also see the media was largely complicit in the Joe Biden cover-up. They covered for Hunter. They covered for Joe. He has a stutter. Be nice. And then when Trump started to surge and people started to criticize the media for their slobbering love affair of Democrats at the expense of honesty, accuracy, any truthfulness in their reporting, we see that they literally, this is so wild that this dude is even admitting this to everybody. He says, I got diagnosed with PTSD and trauma leave, not because he served in the military or something, okay? Here's why.
For those of us there, it was such a horror because you saw an emerging America. And it wasn't the shooting, Chuck. I got diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours. I got put on trauma leave, not because I think of the shooting, but because you saw it in the eyes, the reaction of the people. They were coming for us. If he didn't jump up with his fist, they were going to come kill us.
I know.
For those of us there.
What? They were going to come kill us? This guy is so TDS deranged that he got PTSD and trauma leave because he was at the Butler shooting. And he was afraid that the crowd was going to come for him. That's the reason. Not because he saw Corey get his head blown off, with all due respect, die in front of his family. Not because of that. That's not what caused the PTSD, okay? Not a big deal. Not the fact that the president, who is leading half the country and would cause, if his death would cause probably a civil war, maybe. Who knows what that would have done. But gosh. Thank God. Not about that. Not about that. It's because the MAGA crowd was going to come and attack this dude. And so he's I guess he's still on. He must be at CBS or something like that. But that's who they are. This is crazy. Like this is how they think. He had to go on trauma leave because he thought the media was going to be under attack after Butler. They're nuts. So if you ever have any doubts about it, just think about this guy and Chuck Todd. And Chuck Todd's even like, look at Chuck Todd. He's like, I know. We're all going to die. It's crazy. It's like the same thing. Like AOC said she was going to get murdered on January 6th. We're like, were you even in the building? I don't think so. You were next door. What are you talking about? So they're just nuts. Like it's a real disorder, and hopefully he gets some help, but he won't. All right, so my friends, what a beautiful stream it has been. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting our show. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for the amazing donos. Yeah, it's TDS. It's PTSD TDS is what it is. PTSD TDS. Maybe you can mash those together. But it's been a beautiful stream. If you're just joining us, we covered some good ground. We talked about the fact that Trump's poll numbers look like they're going up, according to CNN. We saw that Democrats' numbers are going down, and the Democrats are trying to really latch onto this Epstein hoax and turn it into something that it isn't. And they, in doing that, are getting castigated by the media. Raskin got blasted by Joe Scarborough. Pramila got hit over by the GOP. Nancy Pelosi doesn't know who she is. She's posting one thing, saying another. Doesn't make any sense at all. Mike Johnson is defending Trump. The president's talking about future releases, and Caroline Leavitt came out and explained. The president, a little swelling in the hands and ankles, but not a big deal. Don't worry about it. And he's fine. He's doing great. We read through the report from the White House doctor. So did Caroline Leavitt. And she also explained, we're not going to be getting a special counsel for the Epstein stuff. All right. So just put a bow on that and we'll move on. But that is their latest. She says, we've done a great job. I think the statement from the White House was much more respectable today than the prior iterations of their messaging. And we know what they're doing. They're just prioritizing other things. And we also saw Clay Higgins is going to keep his eye on the human traffickers and build out the criminal files. We're happy about that. Then we heard from this woman who is an illegal alien who was kidnapped by armed, masked men, except didn't happen. She was actually over at a Jack in the Box, probably shoving her face, getting into the car with her papusa. And they held a whole press conference. Her name is Uriana. They said, where's my mom? We found out at Jack in the Box. DOJ charged her. Other people might be getting charged too, which is why we may have not seen the documents out quite yet. And so we'll see if those drop soon and who else gets arrested and where that case goes. But it was an interesting one. We also see that the sheriffs in California are getting a new letter from Pam Bondi. She said, give us the lists of the illegals in your jail or else there will be consequences. And we'll see if they respond. I'm sure there'll be lawsuits about that one, and maybe Pam Bondi will file them back their way, but we're happy to see her go on offense. And meanwhile, Hunty Poo, very unhappy out there, saying, no, my dad did everything. I wasn't chief of staff at all, I swear, buy a painting. And the Congress is still inquiring into the crime family. Byron Donalds, James Comer, Ron Johnson, and PTSD TDS libs having meltdowns on Chuck Todd's podcast. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And thanks for being here. Thanks for sending in these donos and becoming membos and supporting our show. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you for being here. We had some great comments come in. Dona, John, clipping for us. Nice to see you, John. Where you been, huh? Good to see you. Hey, we got some friends here. What's going on? Let's see who's here. We got membos. Mock Schnell bringing in new membos. Jen is in the house. Bunch of new membos. We got interesting post on that one. Not sure what that one is. Yeah, here you go. Okay, this one. Dreaming of Friday. Only one more day to go. Have a happy Thursday. Courtesy of Winnie the Pooh, who's just snuggling and looking at you. Hey, Angry Lieutenant, welcome aboard, Angry Lieutenant. Thanks for becoming a membo. Grab the members only stream from this morning, and we'll see you on the members only after party coming up soon. So be sure to stick around if you want to join us. Philip Coggins, what's up? 5 months as a membo, over halfway to a baby. Says Hunter is correct. Jake Tapper is a liar because Tapper helped cover it up. Yeah, I think they're both liars. And now they're just pointing to each other's fingers about who's lying about who. And they're using each other's lies as their own expense, right? Tapper had to come out and smear Biden to try to recover some of his credibility. And now Hunter's coming out to say, actually, that's not true at all. Jake's a liar because I didn't do what he says I did, right? He has to respond. Bucky's is Rome. Okay, before you call it a conspiracy theory, okay, just hear me out. You might think I'm crazy, but just suspend your disbelief. And realize they're the same person. What's up, Bucky's is Rome. If cutting government funding shuts down an NGO, it wasn't really a non-government organization. Exactly. Yeah, it's funded by the government. They just call it non-government. You're paying for it. And they're doing everything you want them to do. Yeah, but it's called something different. We passed a law. Okay, thanks. Rick Donner, what's up? The House just passed a bill banning the Fed from creating a CBDC. Wow, that sounds like a good one. 219 to 210. Libs love CBDCs. Bucky's is Rome is here, says, this is me listening to the waiter, going over the specials when I'm just going to order the chicken tenders as per usual. Or you just bring out the chicken fingers, okay? And do it quickly. I need them. Rick D, what's up? From Carrie Lake. Says a Voice of America employee has been indicted. Whoa. For threatening Marjorie Taylor Greene using phones at their studios. The phone calls came from inside the studios where threats were made to Congresswoman Marjorie. That person's getting fired. Philip Butler, what's up, Philip B? Thank you for this comment. Says the only Democrats commenting on Epstein are ones not involved and who will benefit from the demise of other senior Democrats. So you think that's why, like, Nancy Pelosi's like, ixnay on the Epstein A, but then others are like, we got to talk about Epstein. Maybe Pelosi doesn't want it to happen. Hey, Mock Schnell, you're amazing. Thank you, Mock Schnell. Mock Schnell brought in a bunch of new members today. Thank you, Mock Schnell, for doing this. Look who's here. Secret Asian Man is here. We got Mark Gangler. What's up? We got Richard Paul is here. Stella Harris, welcome. Antonio Gonzalez. Mike Smith is here. Amanda Gale. Maddie, welcome. Tex Zombie. What's up, Jason Cook? Lamont Grissom. We got Fred Zeppelin is here. Ryan Petzold. What's up, Squirrel Friend? SVT Medic is here. Opus. What's up, Matthew Z? AJ Moss, Trey Tiger, and David Ludwig, all gifted membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell. Thank you, Mock Schnell, for doing that. And Jen. Thank you, Jennifer, for bringing in one new membo. Kesden in the house brought in courtesy of Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you for being a membo and for bringing in another membo. Chubby Stubby is here, says from Jay Appel, I've always been consistent in what I call out, whether Republican or Democrat presidency. And then here's John Candy. Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, whatever you say, Pramila. Whatever. Thank you for that, Chubby. What's up? Reviant is here. Reviant, thank you for this. Says, hey, Rob, I think the reason Trump has not released the files is because they were fabricated by the Democrat Party, I believe, to impede Trump. It's like Mueller 2.0. Yeah, I mean, why would they not do that again? They already did that with the Steele dossier and tried to impeach Trump over an entire fake Russia collusion hoax, which was fake, just like Mueller. Or the 51 laptop letter and Russia collusion there, right? Trump is disseminating things that have all the hallmark of Russian disinformation, which is wild. They keep prodding another nuclear power with fake hoaxes from the CIA and FBI. So why couldn't you fabricate the same thing on this issue? I think they absolutely could. And maybe that's what Trump saw. It sounds crazy, but they've done it before. Don Goff, what's up? 17 months as a member, says, I think something bigger than Epstein is happening. Yeah, lots of talk about maybe a John Brennan something happening. And there's a clock ticking on that right now, like a statute of limitations deadline from when he testified to Congress and lied through his teeth about it. So there's a lot of murmurings out there. Nothing concrete or solid, but a lot of people talking about it. Mock Schnell, thank you, Mock Schnell, for 20 new membo friends being brought in here, courtesy of your generosity. We got Darlene Watts, Smoke in the Water, Scuba Diva, Flowing Glass. What's up, Null Hypothesis? Bauman 1, Sippy Cup is here. Gene Poole, Bernie's Book Tour, Charisse Kennerly. What's up, Wow Shika? TJ Roloff, Jimbo Laya is here. Line Wife, Larry Whitlock, Diana W., JJ's White, Lauren Wimberly, Hugo's Travels, Philip D., and Matt K., all gifted membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell. Hey, Rob, your mic is low. Can hardly hear you. Oh, really? All right, let me turn that up a little bit. All right, that's one button up. That's another button up. All right, we'll see if that helps a little bit. We're now solidly in the yellows, so hopefully that helps a little bit. Thank you for the heads up, Sheila. Hey, this old guy says, no, the statute of limitations on John Brennan is not expiring, okay? Matt Gaetz trapped him lying to Congress in 2023. Okay. Well, then why are other people saying that there's about to be a statute of limitations that's going to expire? I don't know. Thank you for the details. So maybe Matt Gaetz could have gotten like a newer back end Yeah. In other words, it's not as old as we thought it was. Thank you for that, this old guy. Good stuff. All right, hopefully true. Hey, Pinochet says, Rob, a lot more makes sense now. If the DOJ had to admit small elements throughout intelligence agencies have been running ops behind the scenes, what would that do to all the DOJ's work over the last 15 years? Yeah, I think it could be a real big, like if Trump releases the Epstein files and it neuters his entire government, like you can see why he may not want to do that, right? Like, okay, we find out the entire FBI is totally corrupt. Entire DOJ is totally corrupt. Half the Senate's corrupt. A lot of Democrats in it. A lot of Republicans in it. And the next 4 years, literally nothing gets done because the whole government has just exploded. Why would he do that? Why would he want to do that? Like, it's a low priority action item. Like, it sucks it happened, but if I expose it now, the whole system is basically done for the next 4 years. And I'm totally done. So, yeah, I mean, there's a consequence, right, to releasing them, and there's a consequence to not releasing them. He made the judgment call, and we're living with it. Rick D, what's up? Representative Anna Paulina Luna criminally refers Jerome Powell for perjury. Says, I'm criminally referring Jerome Powell to the DOJ to investigate perjury regarding his crazy $2.5 billion building. That sounds like a good one to check out, Rick. Thanks for that. Pinochet says, I wouldn't put it past a hoax Russiagate group within agencies still fabricated docs to blame Trump for having Epstein. Epstein himself. The government's messaging still sucks, though. Yeah, I could see that they could fabricate it. Yeah. Chat with me. Thank you. Says, my 4-year-old granddaughter says, you have to buy my apple juice with real money and I'll give you some pretend apple juice. Oh, no. It seems my granddaughter is either a rhino or a Democrat. Yeah. Yeah, she might be a fiscal conservative. You know, you never know. Sounds like she's a fiscal conservative. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. That's a fun one. Shout out to your daughter. She should run for the Federal Reserve. Tony Haymunkett says, I want to know about Pizzagate's and Biden's laptop. I can go on. I want Trump to keep working on straightening this out this country, which is doing a damn good job. I wish they would just listen to the victims and go from there. From Tony Haymunkett. Yeah. And I think a lot of the problem is like a lot of the victims are kind of settled or freaked or dead. So, yeah, Tony Hay. Trump will continue to work it out. No doubt. Revco. Hey, what held in a warehouse with men and women? What? Held in a warehouse with men and women? How dare she assume their gender? I am outraged. She should have asked for their preferred pronouns. It's true. It's not very inclusive in her fake made-up kidnapping. Thank you for that, Revco. Travel agent says, how about that Adam Craphead? I loved what the video closed caption did to his name. That was this morning. We had a great members only stream. It was hilarious. We were watching Adam Schiff. And in the C-SPAN caption, it said Adam, they were calling roll call. The Democrats stormed out. We have a full segment on that coming out. Actually, it's probably in the segment that'll come out. It was great. Yeah, it was hilarious. And the caption said Adam shit on C-SPAN. It's amazing. It's true. It's accurate. Felix de la Cruz says, Esta noche en la telenovela Mierda de Toro de la Calderon family, esta person is abajo arrestado por entrada y viviendo en Estados Unidos ilegalmente y mintiendo. Says tonight on the soap opera BS from the Calderon family. This girl's been arrested for entering and living in the United States illegally and lying. Thank you for the translation on that. We're multilingual here. Hey, Tony Haymunkett, I got to ask, is it a felony or a misdemeanor to enter the country illegally? So it's a misdemeanor so I think you could charge somebody just for being here illegally with a misdemeanor, for entering illegally. A re-entry, like once you've been deported and re-entry, that's a felony. So like if they've got a record and you came back, that's a felony. But first time, I think it's a misdemeanor. Second time, if it's a reentry, is illegal generally. There are other, conditions. Like if you're entering with drugs, that's a separate concern, right? So Knox is here. Hey, happy Thursday all. The Trump audio outside ICE is perfect. It's so good. I know. I hope they do that. He should just record audio, actually. Trump should just have a recording. Hi, everybody. This is your favorite president speaking here. While I'm busy working in Washington, making America great again, passing new executive orders, laundry list, all of them. You'll remember on this date, I did this. While I'm doing this, I'm also reminding you that it is illegal to obstruct federal law enforcement officials outside a ICE detention facility. On repeat, 24/7. I hope so. Hey, Knox, thank you for that. And check out myfathersrocksoup.com. We love the Rubos here. The Rubos have the best prayers and the best salt. Comes from the ocean of France. And they have a new website called myfathersrocksoup.com. So check that out. I can't wait to do it. Hey, King of Biltong. I think that you guys might have just launched that, right? You're working on it? I know you're working on it, but is it launched now? Oh. Hey, King of Biltong is here. What's up, King of Biltong? Thanks for supporting our show. And get your Biltong. BiltongUSA.com. You can use code Robert for 10% off, save some money, and get the highest protein snacks in the world with zinc and iron and creatine, which we love. We love ourselves some creatine here. Don is here. People who know what Anthony Bernal is really like are laughing their butts off. I don't know what that means. Exactly, Knox. Don. Don said, people who know what he's really like are laughing their butts off. Is that because he's like aggressive and I heard he's like aggressive and like kind of ruthless? Is that why they're saying this is funny? Because he's cowering like a little weenie? Alana Noble says Hunter left his cocaine in the White House. He was there. Yeah, that's what that podcast host should have asked about. Oh, yeah. Was one of those 12 times when you left your coke in the closet? Don't. The fifths are running out the clock, hoping the Dems take the House in the midterms, so Trump's impeachment will eclipse the current DOJ investigations. Yeah, and that's another thing, too. It's like, okay, if you abandon the Trump train and the Democrats win and they impeach him, you're going to be happy with that outcome, too? So where are you going? Why are you leaving? Sharpie Guy, what's up? How do you feel about the horn-rimmed glasses and how much the weird look so much alike? And the evasive eyeballs darting to and fro. To me, they look similar to the Song of Crazy Eyes. Yes? Thanks for all you do. Hugs to the watchers. Yeah, I think there might be something. It's kind of like, you know, the Star Wars movies were a metaphor for a lot of things that I think are true in life. And one of those is light side, dark side. You know, you've got good and evil. You've got right and wrong and all of the other dichotomies that exist out there. And so once you are a party to the dark side, what does that do to your soul and your spirit? And I think it's really not as healthy, to be honest with you. Kind of consumed in victimology. I'm constantly under attack. Society's always oppressing me. Like, could you imagine raising your kid that way? I don't have kids, but I can't imagine doing that. Like, all right, little Robbie, everyone hates you and you're going to be oppressed constantly all the time because of your skin color or because of whatever, you know, I make up for you. Like, make up a bunch of things. And everyone's going to be oppressive to you your whole life because you live in America in a patriarchy. It's like, what kind of conditioning is that for any human at all? And so I think, you know, you have this lifestyle of that every day, which is why we try to have fun here and try to, you know, liven things up and sometimes be serious and sometimes not. But it's to have some fun and some levity in it. And I think their side misses a lot of that. So instead, what they do is they just buy the same glasses, get the same haircuts, eat the same foods, and look exactly the same and sound exactly the same and talk to each other constantly. Felix de la Cruz. Mr. Anthony Bernal must not have read the book You Have the Right to Remain Innocent by James Joseph Duane. He has a chapter regarding the Fifth Amendment and a Supreme Court decision in Salinas versus Texas. I do believe I've read that book, if it's the same book I think you're talking about, pretty sure, where he's actually saying that rather than invoking your right to remain silent, the better strategy is to say, I want a lawyer, essentially, kind of a thing, if it's the same book I'm thinking about. In other words, you can exercise your right to remain silent, and the exercise of the right to remain silent, like just, in other words, just being silent is not an invocation of the right to remain silent. So you can be silent, you can invoke silence, but if you start to talk or you undo that, you can start talking. But instead, if you're under custodial interrogation and Miranda applies, you would just say, I want a lawyer here, okay? And that's maybe arguably more powerful than I invoke my right to remain silent, because the Supreme Court has said being silent alone is not an invocation of the right to remain silent. So I think that might be what you're talking about, Felix de la Cruz. But It's true. And that's why in our 3 rules of self-defense law, that's why our final 3rd rule is I want a lawyer, right? First one is I don't answer those questions. Number 2 is no, not without a warrant. Number 3 is I want a lawyer. Okay, those are the 3 rules. I don't answer those questions, okay? No, not without a warrant. Those are access questions. Can I check your trunk? Can I check your glove box? Can I come into your house? No, not without a warrant. Well, I don't need a warrant. Okay, fine, but I'm still not giving you permission. So the answer is no. Okay, you got the rules. All right, Alana, thank you for that. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if the janitor came in and said, yes, Biden was totally demented. I saw him talking to the walls. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, but Joe Biden's a legal alien who invaded our country from Mexico, was cleaning the White House, and she comes in and testifies that Joe Biden is totally gone and she saves the country. Incredible. See, he kept watering the artificial plant and talking to it. Yeah, Joe Biden. Like they would come in here and just feed him ice cream and sign documents like all day. It's like I was just sitting here like cleaning the windows. Chevy, the PTSD reporter, so-called, reminds me of the dope that claimed he got PTSD from firing a single range shot from an AR at a range. Such soy boys. I remember that article. Did we talk about that article or did I read that before the show? I remember it, man. I remember that guy. He wrote a whole article. He's like, I could smell the burning chemicals emanating throughout the air, piercing into my nasal passages with the smell of sulfur. Like, what are you, is like this whole like poetic thing about firing a gun. You're like, whoa. And everybody was talking about it. He's like, it's a weapon of war. Concert Chick. Hey, thank you, Concert Chick, for the update. Thank you, watchers, for your prayers. I'm much better after a kidney stone tried to end me. Ended up with sepsis after they broke it up, but I'm better now. I appreciate all the prayers. Man, Concert Chick. I'm sorry that happened to you. That sounds like it's a little, of a complicated process that probably doesn't happen a lot. So I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad you're doing better. Thank you. Shout out to your doctors and your team who helped get you through this. And thank you, of course, to the man upstairs and the love and support of all the prayers coming your way. Thank you for praying for Concert Chick, my friends. She's back. What's up, Christopher B? 16 months as a member. That's 1.5 years. Christopher B says, nice. Let's keep it going. Thank you, Christopher B, for being here for 16 months, man. That's almost 2 full babies coming up. Yeah. It's a long time. We've seen some serious stuff and been through some serious business, and we're grateful for you. Thanks for being here. E. Texley, I think Trump may be protecting powerful foreign individuals with whom he has or hopes to have trade deals. I think this is kind of the leverage theory, right? That it's better to use it than to disclose it. Use it as something because it's got more power that way. Otherwise, it's just a disaster. Wes Downer in the house. Wes has that mining money now, I know. What's up, Wes? Thank you for bringing in 50 membos. And I think I saw a comment from you saying, yeah, it was a great week in the markets, y'all. So I wanted to share the wealth. Hit an all-time high today. America's back, baby. Man, we love it. Wes Downer, thank you for the update. So Wes Downer had a smart play. Man, I wish I would have made that play. He told us about it on a members-only stream. Little mining stock trade. Spreading the love. We love it. Golden age for all of us. New membos. Thank you, Wes, for this. Super fun. And congrats on the markets, man. Jay King, what's up? John C's coming in. Patchy Cortez, none of your business is here. Arctic Wolf, what's up, Brewholic? Banana Dude, Donna Oldham, T.S. Tolkien is here. Jay Heath, welcome. Dust Bunny, Adam Newman, Sassy and Free, Tyler Davis, NABR, which sodium bromine. Brett Whitaker, what's up, Bob Jones? HK, Cat Mama, Kevin Ritchie, what's up, Alex Linky? We got Don Miller, Tim Riggs, Be Wise, Open Eyes. Deputy Director 50 is here. Is that Dan Bongino? AC, what's up? Lauren Wimberly, Texas Cat, Ryan Hogan. We got Leslie Corpus, Crystal Love, Fresh June, GMA Judy. What's up, Patty Bickham, Paulette C, Paul Engelbrecht in the house, Lord Kirby, Beatrice Brandel. We got Russell Judge, Paul Allen is here, Capriati's and Wing Zone Franchising. Welcome. Blank Man, Nasty Natty, Ms. Justice, Mustard Seed. What's up, Cato Sicarius? Don Baca, Mr. Tony, Almighty Snoopy, Tillman Warren, and Zealand Zen. All gifted membos, courtesy of Wes Downer. Wes D, thank you for that, my friend. It was a great week, all-time high, golden age. We're going to have so many new stock portfolios and new membos, courtesy of Westy. Thank you, Westy. Very generous and awesome of you. Hey, what's up? Tony Hay Munkets. Awesome, brother. Shout out to Wes Downer from Tony Hay. Yeah, shouting out Wes D. Thank you, Tony Hay. Also for supporting our work here, my friend. We appreciate you very much. Sharpie Guy, great to see you. You are so intuitive and relatable, Rob. Wow, thank you for that. Easy to care about you and always grateful for it. Hugs around, all around to the Watcher community. Well, I feel the same way about you, Sharpie Guy, and all of our friends here. Like, it's such a privilege to hang with you, have fun, get feedback, all the things. It's really a treat. So thank you for that, Sharpie Guy. I'm grateful for you. Rob, do you have a bird in your office? I don't think so. Do you see one? It's flying around? Did you hear something? Sometimes I'll keep the door open, but the door's not open. Did you hear a bird? I don't think I hear anything. Pinochet, but I could, maybe I do. I don't know. Would you see something behind me? Is it a Fed bird? Is it the FBI? Oh, gosh. Pinochet. Yep, Deep State spent the last 4 years rewriting all their crimes. Honestly, I mean, it would not surprise me. They made up 2 completely other fake hoaxes, historically speaking, and almost got away with it. Barely didn't. Thanks to the wise American people. My friends, thank you so much for those donos. Very grateful and nice of you. Hey, look at this. We got, look at this. This is cool. Where the heck, how do you do that? Man, that's super cool. Paul Me No. It's great to see Paul Me No in the house. There's your boy watching the Watchers. That, man, it must be AI. That's like, how does it do that, man? It must be from today, huh? It's great. Super cool. Thank you for that, Paul Me No. Good to see you, Paul. Hope you're doing well, my man. Nice to see you back. What's up, James Pepper? The key to the Epstein scandal is Comey's daughter in charge is off the case. Yeah, I'm still kind of waiting for more on that. I was going to try to incorporate that today, but I still haven't seen much on it, to be honest with you. But yeah, she did get fired. Now that she's been removed, I saw Schiff was talking about it today. Schiff was like, well, we need to know why she was fired. Schiff was kind of upset about it. So I'm trying to see where people fall on this. Like, what do the Dems say? What do the Republicans say? If the Democrats come back and defend Maureen Comey and she jumps up and starts to become, speak out about it, it could turn into something. But otherwise, she might have done her job. How many people has she blackmailed? Trump set her up to get rid of Comey's daughter. Yeah, I don't know what the story is with her. But she handled some of the most important criminal prosecutions in American history, Epstein and Diddy, and got all of that wrapped up. Hey, here's a good reminder. Just keep on trumping, baby. Just keep on trumping. All it's going to work out. Golden age coming upon us. Nancy L. says, new Republican point against the Dems and ICE attackers. They protect and want slavery, which I think is true. They would never admit it. But they want kind of a pseudo class of citizens. And they even make those arguments openly. They say, well, who's going to clean your toilets? We need slaves from foreign countries who will do the work that we don't want to do because we're lazy. Hey, thank you for those, my friends. And TG is over there, says, sounds like Nancy was drunk tweeting. Yeah, maybe. That could be true, too. She is. Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe Nancy was just drunk tweeting. Could be true. Who knows? Good concept. Good idea. She's drunk a lot. So thank you for sending those in, my friends. Great to see you. We got this from the Rubos with an update. The Rubos say, okay, regarding our book, we are still finalizing it. We just submitted our book campaign to Kickstarter, waiting to be reviewed. Everything is moving along beautifully. We're formatting it for Amazon KDP and Ingram Spark, and we'll be uploading it soon. Awesome. Shout out to the Rubos. So Kickstarter over here, My Father's Miraculous Rock Soup. Man, I can't wait to try that. I can't wait to make it and try it. It's going to be great. All right, so the Rubos. Thanks for the update. Great to see you. Of course, they're at rubosaltshop.com. They got the best salt. Comes from the ocean of France. Where does your salt come from? If it comes from anywhere other than the oceans of France, I don't know what you're doing. But it's been a great stream, my friends. And so we'll leave it there on the day. Big thanks to our mods who mod the fort down for us and keep things nice and orderly. Thank you to John, to Donut Mind Me, to Carrie B, to K Bean, to Just Rhonda, to Elliot, to G-Gum, to Neuro D, to Janek, and to Dog Digger. We have the best mods ever, and we appreciate their help keeping this train on the tracks here on the show. But my friends, we're going to pause here for the evening. We're going over to our members only after party. We're going to debrief, hang tight for a few more minutes, see what you have to say about the show on locals and what your thoughts are on the rest of the evening. And so if you're a membo on YouTube, hit the refresh button on the main channel, and I'll drop a link in the chat as soon as we're done here. Otherwise, locals, hang tight, and we'll see you back in just a few minutes. But, my friends, that is it for us on the day. Of course, we are coming back tomorrow, and we'll be getting into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through the scripted ruse. Together